You may have a goal of being at your best, but are you committed to doing the things that will take you to your best? For so long, we've talked about goals, but not about commitments. I really believe this is going to change the conversation.
I'm the guy who's done more goal setting with anybody in the world. 4 million people. You've been at the seminars. And I take the time to write the goals. And I'm going to say this to you. I will never set goals again without commitments. Well, the top of the morning to you, and welcome to It's a Good Life. Just a few weeks ago, we celebrated our 300th episode. During that time, there's been very few people who has been a guest more often on the podcast than our next guest. He's not just a guest, he's my buddy. Brothers from a different mother. We've known each other for more than 18 years. Whenever I can, I book him for a speaking engagement. He's built a beautiful business. He is a leader of people, and he is one of the best leadership minds out there. He's been helping teams win national championships in all kinds of sports for years. He's a national championship guy. He's going to talk to us about the 7 commitments of a great team. His name is Jon Gordon, and he is my good friend. Top of the morning to you, Johnny.
Brian, great to be with you. And I just love that music to start it out. It's my favorite intro of any podcast that I've done.
Brought to you by Mr. Lally. And just so you know, we're in our new studio today. We're actually at the headquarters, the center of the coaching empire in Carlsbad. And we actually built a new studio. And the very first podcast in the new studio is none other than Johnny G. So
let's go.
Come on.
I love that.
Let's go. All right. So I'm going to give you context here today. Here's the great news. I'm not just going to get my people listening today get exposed to Jon Gordon, not only the phenomenal content in this book, but also I'm going to get a free coaching session today because I have a team of hundreds of people that have been doing stuff for 30 years. You've been to how many events? I don't even know. So many people you know and relationships you've sent to me and vice versa. And we have, about 4 years ago, became a 50% work from home organization. And let me tell you, I thought I knew what leadership was until that went down. And I found how difficult it is that you can't have community without proximity and all those kinds of stuff and the extra steps we've had to go to. A lot of people are in the same boat today. So I want to apply these principles today, but I also want to apply these principles to the real world of what many people are facing. Because it's one thing when they're right there in front of you. It's another thing when we're zooming along and doing our thing. But it can be done. This book, The 7 Commitments of a Great Team, like many of your books, is based on an interaction you had, real-world interaction, with one of your coaches. His name is Richie Morin. And you know the story. You're smiling. That's my mother Teresa's name, Teresa Morin. You Yanks have a different way and a very inferior way of pronouncing it. But when you met Richie Morin, what did he say that inspired you eventually writing a book?
Well, Richie Moran is how I would describe his name and say his name. Richie Moran was my coach who recruited me at Cornell University. And he changed my life. He believed in me. I was recruited for football to other schools, Yale and Lehigh, but Cornell was the only place that recruited me for lacrosse. And so he brought me there. And that experience taught me about culture and leadership and teamwork. Brian, I walked onto that campus straight out of Long Island, New York, with the gold chain, the Camaro, the tank top, and I talked like this, and I was like this kid from Long Island that this coach just believed in. But then I get there, and he's got all these kids from all these prep schools and all these successful lacrosse programs. And so he impacted me in so many ways. But it was on his deathbed, I was able to give him a call. And I don't know if he was laying down or sitting down. I don't think he was that bad yet, but it was a month before he passed away. And I told him how much he impacted me. I said, Coach, you changed my life forever. I love you, Coach. And he said, Jon, teammates are forever. Remember that. Teammates are forever. And when he said that to me, it just impacted me in such a deep way. I knew right then and there I was going to write a book someday about that concept, about what he said. I didn't know how, I didn't know what it was going to be, but I couldn't get that out of my head for several years. Teammates are forever. And that is the opening scene that happens in this fable that I wrote. The main character is Tim. He's visiting Coach Richie, and Coach Richie says those exact words to Tim, the main character.
And look, it makes such a huge impression. It's one of the reasons I got in the coaching business. My first book was called Oh, By the Way. and it was dedicated to my high school teacher that we won a national championship with. His name was Slim Carolyn. And of course, he was 320 pounds, so we called him Slim. And that's how it works in Ireland. But I dedicated my first book to him. Like, I went to business school, and again, not to sidetrack us, I learned more from him on how to run a business than anything I learned in college. They're not even close. And I was trained in specifics. Like, I was training for accounting and the books and and this guy taught me about, hey, put your best players up the middle. Brian. We won a national championship in soccer. Hey, you need to get your best players up the middle, right? All your key. Why? Because that's where the most important positions are, right? You got to have, every single moment of every single play there's a process of what we're trying to pursue. The vision is clear. And so no team from our little school, we were a tiny school, 300 people, Outlands College. And we were playing against teams, those were schools that were 10 times our size. And it was like, kind of Hoosiers, to be honest with you. And we came together, my Richie Moran, his name is Slim Carroll, as I mentioned. And no team in our school had ever been to the quarterfinals of the regionals, let alone win the regionals and then win the national championship. And if you won a national championship, you represented Ireland in Helsinki in the World Championship. And the very first day, this guy unfurls a banner. Now, this is Ireland. We didn't have a lot of money. We were a third world country in the 70s and early 80s. He unfurls a banner, Helsinki, 1984.
Wow.
And he was my Richie Moran. And that's so, again, people have to realize we get these influences and we come along and we have these stories. And though I love you as a man, I love your family, your wife, Catherine is, she's on a level all of her own, to be honest with you. But your story follows this character, Tim. And I want you to kind of delve in a little bit, because I love the fact that you tell stories, because it's digestible. And it's a great book. It's a great leadership book, but it's in fable form, and it's how you're able to get to us, because we all love a story. But give us a little background. What's going on with old Timbo?
Well, Tim is struggling with his business. His business is not thriving. He has lost his way in many cases. He's not leading his team well. Yeah. And when Coach Richie says this to him, he starts to think about his team. Are they committed? Are they successful? Are they the team he needs to succeed? And is he leading them the right way? And so he goes and visits his teammate Vino, and Vino is actually a real person named after Mike Levine, who is the head of CAA Sports.
Wow, you're kidding me.
And Mike was also my teammate in college.
Because teammates are forever.
Yep. And so Tim and Vino loves the book, by the way. He read it. He thought, wow, this is a great book. He goes, not just because I'm in it. It's actually a really great book. And so Tim goes and visits Vino, and they flash back. And Tim is hoping to find some inspiration. He's trying to find some wisdom, insights. What could he do to build his team now? So he goes back to his past through this flashback to look at this team that he had when he played in college under Richie Moran. And he learns these 6 commitments on how to be a great team, because Vino teaches him, because Tim can't remember all the commitments. So you actually follow this team during a season as the coach implements one commitment after another. Eventually you watch this team have a great season. I'm not going to say what happens, but it's also it's the characters, and all the teammates were named after my teammates, which was a lot of fun. Yeah. And so Rogers is Rogers. There's H. There's Duff. Bill Duffy, by the way, is from Long Island. His son Owen Duffy plays on North Carolina, and he is one of the best players in the country. Yeah. So it's a lot of fun. Again, but I also imagine, Brian, this could be a soccer team as well. I didn't say what sport it is. So it could be lacrosse, it could be soccer.
Business.
It could be any, it could, yeah. And the idea was, I didn't want this to be about the sport. Yeah. That didn't matter. Yeah. It's about the relationships. It's about the team. And then you also learn what they do to become a great team. And so every team can follow these commitments along the way. And there's also exercises. This book took me 54 years to write, I tell people, because it's the culmination of all my experiences with all the teams I've worked with, both in business, corporate, also sports. I mean, when EMC and Dell merged, I was working with the leadership at different locations, Singapore and Austin and Ireland, by the way. Went to Dublin, worked with them there on becoming one united team. So I've been doing this a long time. And so this was all of the culmination of all the experiences, the practices, the exercises, the lessons, the tools that I use with all these teams to actually develop winning, successful teams. And I put it into this one fable, this one story, all these insights, all these exercises. So it was a lot of fun. And then the seventh commitment comes about towards the end, actually, not that he learned with his sports team, but as he's trying to now do this with his business team, he finds the seventh commitment for his business. So it's everything I love, right? Business. It's also some sports in there. It's life lessons. It's relationships. And there are exercises that when you follow these exercises and do them with your team, you're going to build a stronger team.
Well, and here's what I know. When I'm having fun as a presenter, the audience is eating it up. And you seem pretty lit up, Johnny. I've featured a lot of your books, and I've known you for almost 20 years, and it seems like you had a hoot doing this, and it's very personal. Just in case there's somebody, because our audience is ever growing, and what if someone doesn't actually know who Jon Gordon is? Just give folks a little bit of a background on what you've been doing for the past 20 years and what your experience is, because you've been lighting people up here for decades.
Yeah, I always love speaking to your audiences and being on your podcast. They are the best people in the world. You always have the greatest people, and they always reach out afterwards, and I just love that. This positive guy, I'm known for positivity, was actually not so positive. This guy was quite negative. I grew up in a Jewish Italian family, a lot of food, a lot of guilt. Everyone, if you follow me for a while, you know my dad was a New York City police officer. So I grew up in a very blue collar, very disciplined house, a lot of negativity, but a lot of love. But I struggled with negativity. And so I really came to a point when I was 31 years old and Catherine had enough of my negativity. She threatened to leave me if I wouldn't change. And that was a defining moment in my life. Even more so now, it's become crystallized. I've told this story over the years, but I can see it so clearly now. Like she's like, if you don't change, we're over. Yeah. And I had to change, Brian, because, I wanted to stay married. Yeah.
And so she's awesome. I love that woman.
She's strong. She's tough. Yeah. And I had to change. And that began this journey of working to become a more positive person. And so ever since that day, I've been researching ways I can be more positive. I started practicing these different ideas because this was during the emerging field of positive psychology all the way back in 2001. Yeah. And then I began to share what I was doing. So I began writing. Next thing you know, people start asking me to speak. I started speaking. Yeah. I started working with some sports teams. The first one was the Jacksonville Jaguars in 2007. Yeah. The Energy Bus comes out in 2007. Goes bananas. And that brought me to you and all these different organizations and teams and companies and school districts. And that's what I've been doing now for the past 20-something years now, just speaking and writing and sharing. And I know my mission, but it's really crystallized more recently, Brian. Like we've had so many talks over the years. It's to develop positive leaders who make a positive impact in every business, school, team, organization, and community around the world to create a more positive world. And I know that I'm here. I finally realized, it's funny, at 54, I'm here to develop positive leaders. And if I could do that and make you a better leader, a more positive leader, you're going to impact your team, your organization, your community, and the ripple effect is going to be all the way to eternity.
Yeah, right. And that's, of course, that binds us together, right? And having those eternal principles at the base of it all is what makes it go. All right, I'm sitting on the edge of my seat. Are you willing to give me some of these 7 commitments? I'm kind of like, I have my pen in hand. I got the early draft of the book. It's just fresh off the plate. I've pre-ordered my copy. It hasn't come yet. But I did read the PDF. Thank you very much. You know you're great friends when the guy sends you a PDF. Like that's when you know.
Yes.
So give me the 7 commitments.
Well, I didn't have the book yet, so I had to send you the PDF. But I'm so glad. I'm so glad it's out and people are reading it. So I love talking about these commitments. You said I light up. I wrote this book in 16 days.
Whoa.
I said it took 54 years to write it, but 16 days to actually type it up. And that's when I knew it was special. It wasn't 16 days because it was not a good book. It was 16 days because it flowed so magically. And it starts with these commitments of the first one is,
By the way, Og Mandino, greatest salesman in the world, maybe the greatest one ever.
I love
50 million copies sold. He wrote it in 24 hours.
24 hours?
Yep.
Wow.
And his wife then edited it. But the 10 scrolls and everything. So, 16 days. Man, I have great expectations for this one.
I know. But I feel like a loser that took me 16 days instead of one day with Og.
He had a
I was feeling pretty good about myself until I heard
he had a
that.
deadline, brother, and he wasn't meeting it. He was a procrastinator by nature, so he got it done.
Was he?
Yeah, he was, and he got it done. And magic happens. You know why? Because inspiration works the way it works. It took 54 years and 16 days, is what I'm hearing.
Yep. My mom gave me The Greatest Salesman when I was in college, and I read that book, and that means a lot because my mom passed away at 59 years old. So remembering her giving me that book and knowing it changed my life, and it's one of the books that made me want to write fables. And so the fact that I get to write these kind of fables that Og did, and I've got some other cool fables that are going to be coming that are going to be like Og-like in
Oh,
some
wow.
ways. They're going to be really cool. I
And
can't
that
wait
would be
for
my
those.
dream. And just so you know, my dream was to write fables like Augmentino. You know what I discovered as a writer? And I have
Yes.
3 bestsellers. As a writer, I'm a hell of a speaker. That's what I found. All right, I sidetracked.
You are the hell of a speaker. Okay.
Give me the
So
7. Give me the 7 commitments.
okay, we're not gonna give all of them
Okay.
because as John Maxwell says, you gotta read the book.
I was just in Argentina with him for 2 days, by the way.
Yeah, I'll give you 6 principles. I'll give you 6, but if you want the 7th, you gotta read the book. All right, I love John's the best, by the way. I love John. But I watch him do that. I go, oh, I wish I could do that. Okay, so the first one is the commitment. You got to commit to the vision and mission of the team. This is alignment. This is, as a team, we have to decide where we're going and why we are going there. And when we're aligned and we're all pulling in the same direction or all rowing in the same direction or the energy bus driving in the same direction, you get momentum, you get power. But that is important for a leader to say, all right, what do we want to accomplish together? What do we want to create together? And so the team must commit to the vision and mission, which is essential. The second one, which I love as well, it's the commitment to being your best. Like everybody in the team must commit to being their best. Now, we often talk about being your best, but I go deeper into this book and share what does it really mean to give your best? Well, one, you're not always going to be at 100%. We can't always be at 100%. Sometimes we're at 60%, 50%, 70%, but you can always give 100% of what you have. And I also created a giving your best formula. Like, what does it really mean? Which is really cool. And of course, it includes consistency, discipline, it includes effort, caring more. But you know what drives it all? We often talk about discipline. We talk about being consistent. And everyone's always yelling at their team members like, you got to be disciplined. You got to be consistent. We have guys on social media yelling at everyone, you got to be disciplined. But what really will make you disciplined is devotion. Devotion is what drives discipline. If you are trying to be disciplined without devotion, you're swimming upstream.
Yeah.
You're always climbing uphill. It's really hard. You have to
Willpower.
grind and
Yeah.
you feel like you're fighting every step of the way. But when you're devoted, and there's a love there, and there's a passion, that devotion will drive your discipline. No one had to make Tom Brady work on throwing the ball. No one made Steph Curry practice his jump shot. No one made Pavarotti practice, as a singer. Right? There was a devotion to it, a drive to it. And I often joke, but it's true. Like when I'm on the road, people say, do you have an accountability partner for you in your marriage? I said, no, I am devoted to my wife.
I have an accountability partner. Her name is Catherine.
Yes. And I'm devoted. Yeah. That drives my discipline, but I'm also scared of her. So there is some fear there.
Well, so let's circle back on this thing. Because one of the things, there's 2 topics you've touched on that are hot buttons for me right now. So, and you've been to Peak Experience many times, and what an audience that is. And I just did a whole session, the highest achievers on the planet, and I did this whole thing with the difference between doing your best and being at your best, and it's doing versus at. And there's an awful lot of people trying bloody hard. And they listen to this podcast, and even I have to guard myself against it. I'm not giving them another list of how-tos. And like you said, when I get on the Instagram, because my daughter's very active there, and we have some stuff out there, and next thing you know, I'm scrolling along, and I have these people who I have no idea what they did, what they've done, if all they know how to do is do a selfie, giving me advice and telling me what the heck to do. And you get this 24/7, 24/7, 24/7, and I don't know, who are they? What have they done?
Right.
Like, what have you ever done anything, like accomplished anything? And why am I taking advice from someone I don't know? But this whole dynamic of doing your best, which is, to me, it's motivation. Like I'm doing my best. They're trying hard. and then the difference of being at your best. And this other piece to this puzzle, you talk about devotion. So I did an interview with Craig Rochelle, who I know you know well.
Love Craig.
And here's this brilliant guy. He's got, and it doesn't talk about what he does, or you have to kind of pull it out of his teeth a little bit. He's got 40 campuses, 95,000 people going to church every Sunday. He's got 1,000 staff. He's doing podcasts and this and that, writing books. He's speaking at our leadership conference this year. And I start talking to him. I go, how do you do it? Like, the guy's in great shape. He's this and that. And so he starts getting into it. I said, well, tell me about that. Now, here's the thing that really helped me, because I've just dropped 18 pounds since I did the Craig Rochelle podcast.
Okay, I could tell.
So I go, okay, buddy, what do you do? He goes, well, I start the morning off, and he says, he said the following words, which is not popular. He said, I have an extremely disciplined diet. I go, huh? That's not going to sell anytime soon. He goes, it's rigorous. I go, what do you do? So I start off the morning, I drink a half gallon of water. Hello. All right, so I'm up to, I'm not, okay, I do 32 ounces. A half gallon, I'm just peeing like a racehorse. Like, okay, can't do it. Then he goes, I have eggs and chicken sausage. Okay? I'm going to start doing that. He says, then I drink another half gallon of water, and then I have proteins and fats, the one more meal a day, and then I like to work out at night. Well, I like to work out in the mornings. I just start, I didn't change anything, but here's what happened. I got exposed back to number one of someone who was on a mission, who in my opinion was operating at a higher level than me and knew why. And out of that came my devotion to, like, hey, no one, I'm cooking my own meals and I've had chefs and this and that and the other, getting fatter by the day, John. And now all of a sudden, nah, I'm good. I'm going, like, oh yeah, I've got all these meetings. I'm going home. No, I'm picking out the meats. I'm doing this. My wife's like, what has happened? We're married 35 years. What has happened to you? And I got exposed to someone I admired, someone who was operating at the highest level. And I went, oh, it's as simple as that. I have a vision in my mind of where I want to go. And so these dynamics are taking place. And here's the key for me. John, it's been a long time since I felt like I was at my best.
Yep.
And now I'm at my best, doing my best. And now here we go, right? And here's the thing. And it's been a commitment. It's been a commitment.
You have to make the commitment to yourself and to what you want. And here's the key, Brian. This is a huge part of the book. Commitments are greater than goals. Recently, I've been having all of these team members, these leaders, tell me what their goals are. I also ask, do you write them down? How many of you have your goals written down? About half the room says they have written them down. Then I say this, okay, you have your goals. Half of you wrote them down. How many of you have your commitments written down? How many of you even have commitments?
Yeah.
That changes the conversation now.
Huge.
Because Brian, you may have a goal of losing weight, getting fit, being at your best, but are you committed to doing the things that will take you to your best? Right. And so your commitments will take you to your goal. So I'm a big believer in goals, but for so long we've talked about goals, but not about commitments. I really believe this is going to change the conversation around commitments and goals. And that commitment will lead you to greater success as you move towards your goals.
I love this because it's also somewhat countercultural to the warm, fuzzy back rubs we're getting nowadays, right? No, truth. And look, I mean, when you say, oh, I have a goal, I have a deeper thing than that. And the commitment means no matter what. The commitment means I do till death do us part. Yep. That's the commitment I made to my bride. Like, that is not a goal. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Zig Ziglar, and you know this. I was the last guy to record Zig, and the needle was stuck for him. So I spent 12 hours with him to get like 15 minutes worth of film that would be his legacy.
Yep.
And he was stuck on, he would tell me the same story over and over and over. And he'd say, Brian, I met my wife September 9th at the YWCA, Yazoo City, Mississippi. And I've courted her every day since. And he goes, Brian, I've told her, if she ever leaves, I'm going with her. And I thought to and he told me that 12 times in one day. And I remember I came home and I said to my wife, I hope my needle gets stuck like that. I hope when I'm him, I hope my needle gets stuck like that. Because here's what he was talking about. He was in early, obviously, onset stages of dementia. He'd had that bad fall. You remember that whole thing. Yep. He's one of the greatest motivators who ever lived. Many people would say you're his stepson now, and but his needle got stuck, and he was stuck on a commitment. He was stuck on a commitment. I would call him up. He wouldn't know it was me. Back in the day, no caller ID. And he'd be on vacation. He'd answer the phone. Mrs. Ziegler's happy husband. He didn't know it was me. He's calling. And he didn't know that influence, was just, that's what I needed to hear. I was 15 years married at the time. I needed to hear that. And so I think this. I think, I see a lot of these younger folks. I think they're up for it. I don't think they want the warm, fuzzy back rub. I think they want the real deal. I think people want to be led by a leader who's committed. And I think people are ready to make commitments themselves. And I started scanning through this. I was like, 7 commitments. I go, Jon must not be trying to sell books. Because, right? Because, hey, people are like, no, I want the 7 steps to and living free and millionaire by 20. I mean, I have 24-year-olds come up to me, I want to retire within 2 years. And I go, what? And why? What do you want? What are you retiring from? You haven't done anything yet. You're going to be a Bitcoin trader, or you're going to make it rich on online gambling. What do you want to do? What and why? Here's the thing. I'm 8 years of age. I've been financially set for 20, and I'm more fired up now. The Rocky music's playing. I'm on the gym. I'm going for it, baby. I'm in the new studio. I'm talking to my buddy Johnny G, and I'm breaking this stuff down. I think, and I'm the guy who's done more goal setting with anybody in the world. 4 million people. You've been at the seminars, and I take the time to write the goals. And I'm going to say this to you. I will never set goals again without commitments.
Let's go.
Give me one more, John Maxwell. Come on. Let me squeeze it out of you. Come on.
I'll give you a couple more.
All right.
I love, again, what you're saying, the concept of commitments. And I didn't care about selling books, as you know. I got to speak the truth. And I have to share what people need and what teams need. Working with all these teams, I saw goals but not commitments. I saw lukewarm attitudes and actions. I saw teams that are not connected, so they're not committed. I mean, let's go to Cornell lacrosse that just won the national championship. Yes, it's near and dear to my heart because I played on that team many years ago. I was there with my former teammates live watching the game in person. One of the great moments of my life. It took 48 years to win another championship. Wow. The last one was 1977. The book I wrote, The Hard Hat, is based on George Boyardi, number 21. It's been 21 years since George died, and this team wins. What made this team so unique and special? It was the hard hat culture and the commitment that they had to each other. This is key. There are 2 commitments that go hand in hand. One is the commitment to connect. So you got to commit to connect with your team members. And the more connected you are as a team, the more committed you're going to be. You'll never have commitment without connection. It's one of my core principles I teach teams. So when you work on your connection as a team and you truly get to know each other and you support each other and you love each other, you know what happens? You'll fight for each other. When adversity strikes, so many teams run away from each other. Great teams, committed teams run towards each other because there's connection. It's what the Navy SEALs do. They actually get the guys bonded into a brotherhood. And when they come work with corporate America, you know what they do? They bring you out into the water. They make you almost drown together. These corporate guys are almost drowning together. All right, now you're connected because you almost died together. I think there's other ways to create the connection, which is what I share in this book. I share my favorite team building exercises. And one is the 5 H's that every team could do to become a stronger team. So now we have this commitment to connect. And we really have to, as a family, you got to connect together. Yeah. You told me before this podcast, you're going to come visit me. Yes, let's commit to connecting and spending more time together because relationships are everything. And you know what, Brian? We have connected so much over the years. And because of our connection, if you were struggling, if you needed me there tomorrow, I would literally get on a plane tomorrow and be there for you because we have that connection and commitment. How many people would actually do this for their team members at work? How many people would you truly serve and sacrifice for? So it's the commitment to connect. And then the next one is the commitment to each other. I'm going to commit to you. I'm going to commit to my team members. And this is, again, service and sacrifice. With every team, it's going to cost you something when you commit. Yeah. With every team, you're going to have to give, and you're also going to have to give up. And I go deeper into this story, into this book of that. Like, there are sacrifices you need to make. If you want to have a great marriage, you have to give up some things. There's a lot we can think of of what we want to give up. And even with your wanting to be healthy, you're having to give up certain foods you probably want to eat. I don't eat sugar. So sugar messes me up. Sugar affects my weight, affects my microbiome, affects everything. I stay away from sugar now. I am disciplined in that, and I'm committed to that, committed to my health. I'm committed to my wife, as I said, when I'm on the road. I'm also committed to doing whatever she needs me to do to help her and be there.
Oh, by the
for
way,
her.
how many books have you written?
32 books.
Okay, that didn't happen by accident.
Commitment.
You know, they talk about, like, I saw some stat the other day. There's over 200 million people in the U.S. alone who have a desire to write a book.
Wow.
And less than 1/10 of 1% does. And you've knocked out
Wow.
32.
Yep. And I just launched Gordon Publishing. Actually, we're going to help people. We're going to help people now write their books and share their books with the world, because guess what? Everyone has a book they want to write, and they should write it and share it. But we're going to help them do that.
Nice.
But again, going back to commitment. So if I can get a team to now commit to each other, not just to the vision and mission, but the primalness of, I'm going to commit to you and sacrifice for you. And I know you would do the same for me. But here's leadership. Leaders go first.
Yep.
They lead the way.
Yep.
They demonstrate commitment. So many times leaders are like, they're not committed.
Sure.
So-and-so's not committed. So-and-so's not committed. They're pointing out all the people that are not committed. But you have to go first. You lead the way. And what I have found, when you demonstrate commitment, you get commitment back. And I know your mom. I know your mom demonstrated that commitment to you, and it's why you are who you are. My mom demonstrated that commitment to me. Do you know my last name, Gordon, is my mom's maiden name?
Yeah, I knew that.
A lot of people don't know that. It's my mom's maiden name. My biological father left when I was a year old. My mom, single mom for a number of years until she remarried, and then married my stepfather, who was an amazing man. I called him dad. He was very committed as well. So I experienced commitment from my mom and my dad, who raised me. My biological father, not so much. So that Gordon name is the embodiment of commitment. Here's the thing. Commitment recognizes commitment.
Yeah.
My brother and I changed our name to Gordon. We wanted to honor and recognize our mom's commitment to us. When you are committed as a leader and as a teammate, your teammates will recognize that, and they will commit back to you.
That's awesome. It's awesome. Well, Mrs. G would be very proud of her boy. I know that. Here's the thing I'm going to say. You know, the closest I ever got to Cornell was watching episodes of The Office, okay? And so... but I will tell you, I'm a part of a lot of people, and again, it's not a fun thing to hear these days, but I'm part of a network of employers that employ 75,000 people.
Wow.
And here's the discussion lately. And I'm just going to say, these things are out there, and you know, oh my gosh, and you know, it's not easy to hear. But I hear a lot of these guys are like, I'm not hiring any Ivy League people anymore. The nickname now is Poison Ivy.
Wow.
Because of the level of entitlement. You know, a lot of these kids came cush, and a lot of them don't have it. So here's Cornell, which is right in the heart of it all, known for privilege and power. How in an environment like that do you go? Like, people, like when you got lacrosse, like we have in Ireland, we have hurling.
Yep.
Okay, and hurling was older than what the Native Americans played. Like in our culture, it's 1,000 years old, you know, hurling. If you ever look up the Gaelic athletic games and hurling, any American who ever goes there goes, this is the greatest thing I've ever seen. So I have a great appreciation. It was my favorite sport growing up. I had great appreciation for lacrosse when I came here, because it's like hurling. And then here it is. It's an unbelievably physical sport. It's unbelievably tough. It's very close to football to me. And and here we go with a lot less padding. So how do you get a bunch of kids who may have come from all these different places, and if they didn't, they're surrounded by what has become a lot of entitlement. They have the best of everything. How do you get grinders and grifters and committers into an environment where everything seems soft, warm, fuzzy, and entitled?
It starts with leadership. It starts with those coaches, Connor Busick, who played at Cornell. He's only 31 years old. He's been the head coach for like 4 or 5 years now. And so he's a young guy who played at Cornell, who learned about the hard hat, who embraced it, and was that kind of player. So you have him, Jordan Stevens, another great coach. They adopted it. They embraced it. They then shared those values, those principles, those characteristics. This is who we are. This is the kind of team we're going to be. This is how we're going to play. And we're going to train harder than everyone on the planet. This is a great lesson for anyone trying to build a culture. Cornell knows who their guys are. They know who a Cornell lacrosse player is. And so if you're not the right fit, they're going to tell you, and they're also going to try to weed you out in the recruiting process. A lot of teams, a lot of organizations, a lot of companies try to recruit everybody. They say, no, we're only going to recruit our kind of guy. And so they have a lot less people they're recruiting, so they're able to develop the relationship with them, get the right guys, get the right fit. And their guys are hard workers. They're tough. They're physical. They're strong. They train as hard as football players at lacrosse. And so here these guys are, big, physical, strong, blue collar. They're up at Cornell. It's freezing cold. You got the snow. You got the elements. You can't be a wimp up there when you're training in the snow. That's how we trained. A lot of guys are from wealth. A lot of guys are from privilege, but that doesn't determine who they are on the inside. There's a lot of these guys on the inside.
Flying on a private jet.
Right.
I got a kid in the military. I got a kid who's on the Olympic team. I got this. I got that. All my kids are grinders. They all work hard, so that it doesn't matter. And as our good friend Damon West used to talk about, and he's in this book, be the coffee bean, right? Rather than conform to the people around you. They're leading the pack, and it sounds like the team is being well led, and he sounds like he's developing leaders himself.
And a culture. I'm proud of, though? I'm proud that every player, when they come into the program, they have to read the Hard Hat book.
Yeah.
And when I wrote that book years ago, I was only writing it to tell Georgia's story to the wider world. I didn't know that they were going to use it as their program definer and builder and share with all the players. So when you're a recruit there, they actually make you read the book, and they encourage the family to read it. So I'm at this tailgate hanging out with all my friends, my former teammates, and all these people are coming up to me. You wrote the Hard Hat? They wanted to talk to me about the Hard Hat. So I'm proud that book helps them create the culture of what a Cornell lacrosse program is all about and what a player is all about. And it's all about George, and all the proceeds. His name was Mario St. George Boiardi. Mario St. George. He got hit in the chest with a ball and died on the field in 2004. He was 22 years old. And to this day, his teammates live their lives based on him and the kind of teammate he was. His locker is still in the locker room. Yeah. So when you go to the locker room of Cornell, you see his locker still there. His stuff is still there. It's like a shrine, but everyone walks by that every single day. And they are there to be a selfless, loyal, hardworking teammate. And so that's what it is. But the lesson for all of us, I actually did a lesson today to my circle. I taught them about creating culture. And I used this as an example. I said, all right, you've got to create a story. You've got to have values. You've got to have symbolism that brings the culture to life. Then you got to reinforce it. Then you got to make sure that everyone is living and breathing those values so it comes to life. And when you're doing that, now you have alignment, you have power, and then you become attractive to the world. In-N-Out Burger is a great example of that. They have such a great culture. They're one of my clients. And to watch the culture they've built, their success is not an accident.
We're going to wrap it up because you and I could go all day and all night.
Yes, we could.
And we're going to be out there sucking down something cool here in the next few months as I come to see you. It's interesting. I went home from my mom's funeral, and the team I won the national championship with is in 1984. Okay, and Ireland. If you notice, Ireland doesn't get sunshine, and they don't do Botox, and there's no facelifts, right? So the lads, I got together with the lads, and I went, you know what? I'm not doing too bad. I'm out here in sunny San Diego. Some of these guys look a little rougher wear, but you know what? We're right back. It's 41 years since we won that national championship, and that's what those Cornell kids are going to have. Because we got together, and it was like yesterday. And you catch up with the stories and wherever else. But then we right back in, and the vivid memories of the things we overcame. And every single one of us who's gone on to achieve, it was those moments in those games where you get that deposits in your bank account. And those kids will have that forever, and they'll know it. And they'll go on to be great leaders, and they'll lead businesses and families and do remarkable things. So let me tell you what I'm doing. I have 24 leaders inside Buffini & Company, and when we hang up today, the 7 commitments of a great team, I'm going to get 24 copies, and I'm going to I might get my friend to sign it. We'll see about that. But I'm going to send it to each one of my team along with this podcast today. The thing about it is, I know you a long time, and I see how fired up you are about this. And a lot of times, as you well know, the publisher wants this and the publisher wants that, and the guy, I've talked to a couple of authors, and they go, and I've interviewed people where it was apparently I'd read their book and they hadn't. That has happened on more than one occasion because we ask pretty good questions, and my man Danny Iverson has helped me with the research, and the producers here, and I've had that. I haven't seen you this fired up in a long time, and it's great. And I know it's part of your passion. And you're 54 years in the making, 16 years in the fulfillment side of it. This is awesome.
You're 58. I'm 54. We are more fired up than ever about life.
Yep.
This is a great lesson for everyone. You know what? It's never too late. Do what you're passionate about. And I feel like I'm just getting started.
Sure.
And I know when I'm speaking, I'm stronger, more powerful than I've ever been. I have more to share, more wisdom, more experience, and more energy now at this age. Right. And so I'm excited. Like, I believe like the next 20 years are going to be the best years of our lives to make an impact. So everyone listening, like, don't retreat from life, embrace it, but do what you love and be passionate about it. And that will lead to greater success. And I'm excited about the next one, Brian. I'm writing the sequel to the Energy Bus.
Oh no!
All these
no
years,
way.
Yeah, all these years, I said I would never do it. I would never do it. And it's not one of these where I'm going to have like 10 different versions.
I asked you. You told me nope. It was like
never.
Oh, not going there.
Nope, but I'm going to write a fable about the sequel. I got the opening scene, and it came to me, and I'm like, I'm going to write this, and this is going to be about positive leadership. So, the 11 laws of positive leadership.
Let me give you the outside perspective here, if you're up for it.
Sure.
So the Energy Bus was a revolutionary concept, and at its time, as simple as it was like all the ancient principles, right? There's nothing new under the sun. To bring that back and to be on the forefront of positive psychology, which now, they say success has 1,000 fathers and failure's an orphan, right? Well, there's been 1,000 fathers ever since, but the Energy Bus was, and again, I always remember it went down to Korea first. You know what I mean? Yes. You were big in Korea before BTS, baby. And then Hard Hat is a book that a lot of people have referred me to and have talked to me about, that it really ministered to them. Every big-time sports star that I've talked to talks about training camp. Every sport, and you know what I'm talking about. And now you have your training camp events. And I just told you, if hell or high water, you've got one May 1st, I will be there, and I will be giving my time back to my friend. I got over 3,000 requests for speaking engagements in the last 12 months. I took 4. And I will donate my time and free speech, because anything I can do to support you. And if my schedule's open May 1st, 2026, I'll be on the first thing smoking and see you there.
We would love to have you there.
And then lastly, this is the book I'm buying for my own team.
Thank you.
And I love you. I appreciate you. Never change. Let's be, instead of the grumpy old white guys, we're going to be the fired up, inspirational dudes that can't wait to get going and talk about our next project and where we're at. And I honestly believe I've been doing my best for a long time. It's been a long time since I felt at my best, and I feel at my best now. You're a beaut. You're a gift. You're a man of faith and family. We're in a world that is drowning in information and starving for wisdom. And you know where the wisdom comes from. You're plugged into the source. You're plugged into the people. And then I'd like all Irish people, and this is where you have a little bit Irish in there, buried in there somewhere.
Oh, I did.
Because a good story told well is an important thing. And in my culture growing up, every little village had what's called a Shanachie. And the Shanachie is the town storyteller. And they'd say, was that story true? And he'd say, well, it could have been. You're a great Shanachie. You tell great fables. I'd love to be able to have that gift. I don't. You do. It makes the spoonful of medicine go down real well. The name of the book is The 7 Commitments of a Great Team. We're delighted to have him. He's a coach. He's a friend. And John, this thing's going to be a runaway success. And I thank you for spending the time with us today.
Thank you, my brother.
Well, as Therese Moran, I'm sure she's related to Coach Richie, used to finish our podcast for 9 years and tens and tens of millions of downloads. Therese Buffini was with you. And so to honor her, I've decided I will always finish up with her little blessing. So may the roads rise up to meet you, and may the wind always be at your back. May the rain fall soft upon your fields, and the sun shine warm upon your face, Until we meet, Jon Gordon and everybody here, may God hold us all in the hollow of his hand. We'll see you next time.